Siakam with it, perimeter right. Holds the ball waist high, driving it on Gilgeous-Alexander, backing his way in, using his size to shoot and score from just inside the foul line over the smaller Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah, if Gilgeous-Alexander's going to match up with him, he's got one foul. You got to go at that matchup every time.
Pacers down 5, 3:09 left in the quarter. Nembhard sends it right sideline. Halliburton there against Dort, a long one on the way, and it's perfect from out near the right hash mark.
In the paint, falling down to Siakam. Now McConnell, free throw line against Cason Wallace. Jumps it inside, and Siakam got it and lays it in.
How does he come up with that basketball? And look at T.J. McConnell.
T.J. McConnell with the steal. Siakam for 3. It's no good. McConnell the rebound to Mathurin, who lays it in. 44-42, halfway through the second quarter. Kenrich Williams catches. He's going to launch a 3 and miss it long. And the rebound, Halliburton at the Oklahoma City free throw line. To a cutting top and down the lane to Mathurin, who lays it in and draws the foul. After a half here in Indianapolis, game 3, it's Indiana 64, Oklahoma City 60.
We're under 9 minutes to play, the shot clock at 8. McConnell dances, spins, fumbles, picks it up and can't finish in front. Rebound to the grateful Nembhard over on the left wing. It was tipped in his direction. He grabbed it and laid it in. And then McConnell steals, and the Pacers get 4 quick points in a matter of seconds. The game is tied with 8.5 to go. Gilgeous-Alexander finds the open man in the near corner, but Dort missed a 3. Weak side rebound swallowed up by Toppin. Here comes Halliburton. Outnumbered, he slows and waits. Now drives forward with the left hand, floating to the glass. No, but Y-E-S! As Toppin pulled it off the front of the rim and flushed it with 2 hands.
Just flying out of nowhere and just sits on one.
107-100. Halliburton using the Turner screen, driving to his left. Cross-court pass to Neesmith, and he buries a cold-blooded 3 from the right sideline.
Falling out of bounds, contested, knockdown 3 ball.
Boy, Oklahoma City had the lead in the fourth quarter, but as is their custom, the Pacers rallied and were able to finish this one off 116-107.
The Ride with JMV, 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, welcome into the show. There's a whole lot to talk about right there. Mark Boyle, Chris Teneri, Eddie Gill of the Pacers Radio Network. Last night, the Pacers now up 2-1 in the best-of-7 NBA Finals. I would add that another must-win comes your way tomorrow. We'll get to that coming up a little bit more this afternoon and then tomorrow. But a couple of shout-outs to start. Obviously, one is the reason why I felt compelled to form the argument of running this group back after the Eastern Conference sweep a year ago was you could tell the connectivity, as I mentioned, the cohesion. You could tell what they had in special terms of the team. Now, the one thing that can be lost in the shuffle because of the sweep of the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals a year ago, and because we were so stinking excited that that was going on. It was like a fairy tale dream a year ago. We were just floating around on a cloud. This season, it's become more real and more evident. This is a team of badass dudes. Badass guys. And it doesn't matter when called upon, these badass guys, whomever it might be, at whatever point of the game it might be, no matter the circumstances, somebody steps up. You look again last night, and it's always somebody, and we can go through the numbers. I mean, we're the ones that put together 110 of the Pacers win a year ago. You get to 110, we're feeling really good, as always. You know, the numbers suggest how good they are when Tyrese Halliburton goes over 20. So check mark and check mark. I cannot tell you, however, how many games I can recollect when this team said, you know what, blanket, we're going to go out here and we are going to match the intensity, the aggressiveness on both ends. You already get it offensively. But my impression was defensively. That is not a ragtag group on the other sideline there at OKC. That is skilled with depth, and they were completely befuddled, especially in the fourth. And that's when the hammer came down. That's when the guillotine fell. 18 fourth quarter points surrendered. When is the last time you felt compelled to say, stifling Pacers defense? That's exactly what you got. Stifling Pacers defense. They made him run and run and run and stayed after him and came at him in waves. And then at the very end, a team we questioned whether or not they would ever get tired, because they have certainly a similar makeup and depth. If that was ever going to happen, because we've seen this before against the Knicks, against the Cavaliers, against the Bucks. You run guys in the ground. I mean, hell, that's all any coaches, any executives, any players talk about right now in the offseason when their season is over is, how you got to get into better shape. And now you have to have a different level of shape. Because you watch these two teams, and by the way, that was incredibly high-level basketball last night, and if you're a jackass and you didn't watch because you want an elite-level player, then you're just simply a jackass that didn't watch, and you probably don't like basketball very much anyway. So stick with America's Got Talent or whatever jackass show that you watch. Basketball's not your gig. You are there to talk about the stars, but in terms of basketball, that is high-level material. You watch these guys work. And again, this is all-encompassing. I'm not just talking about the Pacers with this particular stance. This is across the board. You watch all these guys and how they work together, how they compete together. I watch both these teams on defense, and they communicate just by knowing where each other's going. It is an amazing asset. And for the basketball fan, it's equal to an amazing visual. Now, for the butt sniffer, maybe not so much. If you're a sniffer of butts, then all you probably care about is the elite level player. Where's my LeBron? Where's my elite level players? They're not here. Where's Giannis? I don't know what I'm going to do without him. Even though on one side you have the MVP. But if you're talking about, and that's why I love speaking to you, not all of you, but most of you know exactly what it means to be viewing high-level basketball played on both ends. What it means to compete at a high level on both ends. We may have never, ever been able to compete on a level anywhere in the neighborhood of that. But on whatever level you competed, you know what it takes to do just that. You know what it looks like. You know what it looks like to get through. The term or the word resilient is tossed around all the time, and sometimes I think it is accurate. Routinely, it's probably tossed around a little bit too much. But in the case of the Pacers, there's no greater example of that. And we see it time and time again. So to defend, again, when everybody tells you about how nobody watched game number 3, that is the rest of the world's problem. That's the rest of the world's issue. Maybe if the network that covers you didn't bury the series and the players and the teams before it gets started with the ultimate jackasses yip-yapping about it, maybe it would come off a little bit better to the general public that are led around like sheep. Hey, whatever Stephen A. says, I'm down with it. Whatever. I'll say, yeah, I'm going to follow it. Whatever he says, he's absolutely right. If that's what you listen to, and if that's what you abide by, if that's where you take your cue, then you're probably going to like this. And there's a reason why. There's a reason why, if you're outside of these two markets, that you don't like it. It's because you're told not to. But if you love basketball, even beyond being a fan of the Pacers or the Thunder, that last night was about as compelling as you can get. And the overall elite level star power, no Steph Curry, whatever, be damned. I mean, I like Devin Booker too, but that guy's not one jack squat. He's a great shot maker. Yeah, star level players. All these star level players are doing what? They're vacationing right now. You around here get it. That's why I love talking. There's no way in the world I could ever have conversations about basketball with any other market. Even though sometimes some of you get off the rails and you're not too bright, most of the time, even when you get off, you're derailed for a moment, you get back there. But this is high-level stuff. And what we have maintained throughout this season is true. There is nothing quite like watching a level of team basketball when it's played that way. And it's certainly nothing like watching a level of team basketball played that way when your team is victorious, when it's the winner, when it's up 2-1, and you still feel uncomfortable about tomorrow night. And that's the best part about it. People right now, I saw there was a debate on one of these Yip Yap shows, and I saw it. Listen, I didn't watch it. I saw it on the internet. Saw it on X or whatever. I think it was For You. Like, there's nothing in the category of For You. There is nothing that is less for me than what is supposedly, according to X, for me. But it was for me, right? It was directed for, hey, this is you. And it was a debate. It was a debate about, the finals, and a debate why nobody's watching, or how the Pacers are disrespected by being the underdog. At this point, you take it and you roll with it. This team is much better when it's the underdog, when it's dismissed, disregarded, disrespected. That's what you have seen going all the way back to the Milwaukee first-round series. So at this point in time, I don't think it's something that anybody should cry about or whine about or complain about or be critical. I think it's something where you should rejoice. You should celebrate it. It's like a badge of honor. Vegas be damned. So what, Vegas, you haven't learned by now this is what happens with this team? I mean, hell, the rest of the world is understanding, but the smartest people, the wise guys around don't get it just yet. Yeah, the debate rages. But what is not open for debate at all is, again, how badass this Pacer team is. And it's always somebody. It's always somebody stepping up. It was the bench last night. Like, there's this tremendous jackass that sends me stuff all the time. And for some reason, it's always about Matherin. I think he called him, quote, my boo or something last week. And that's what I thought. Hey, nerd, you don't need to be using that term, all right? Just say this guy that you talk about all the time, a Matherin. But anyway, this dork sent me this about, and he constantly sends me this about Matherin. Hey, your boy. And I can always tell, people wonder why I respond in the fashion in which I do. When you use the term your boy, I'm going to probably fire back at your ass. That's what's going to happen. That's going to be you. This is the way that it is. If I see it and if I'm motivated, sometimes I don't see it and then sometimes I'm not motivated. But if I am and I do, I probably will. But it was something about Matherin. And with Benedict Matherin, you just kind of wait around until it's going to be his game. Everybody gives Bill Simmons a great deal of grief. Bill Simmons had this thing pegged like last week. One of these games is going to be a Matherin game, where he's going to step up, he's going to swoop in, he's going to save the day, going to put up nearly 30. That's exactly what he did last night. And then looked like he did not even go through a sweat. He's going to get on with Scott Van Pelt after the game and act like he just played in a pickup game somewhere downtown. Seriously, I could not tell last night in the interview with Scott Van Pelt after the game if Matherin had just won and been a part of scoring 27 points in Game 3 of the NBA Finals, or if he just won on one of the courts down at the Ursay Y. Had no idea. That's a good thing, though. That's his personality. That's another aspect of this team that is so consistent. They have differing personalities that all equate to the same. And that is playing together, and that is winning. And that's why I've said all along, this is my favorite team, and I mean team of any kind around here of all time, and I have been around here for a long time. My favorite. For all that I just described. It's an interesting combination of so many things that you, like me, if you grew up around here, that maybe you were. But also a combination of things that you were never, much like me, going to be talented enough to accomplish. I mean, they bring all these qualities together. And that's why you see in-game performances like you did in game number 1, or you see performances to close out a game like you did last night. Hey, who among us thought that the fourth was going to look like the way that it did last night compared to the way the third quarter ended? I mean, really, you could not have closed a quarter worse than the Pacers did. You only put up 20. You give up 29. Jalen Williams has that in 3. You were feeling good until like the last 2 minutes, and then it was over. And then in the fourth, this team absolutely got serious. And I put this last night on X. They were fighting fire with fire. They utilized many of the tactics that we see commonplace with OKC, and they used that against the Thunder in their own way, in their own fashion. They were over-the-top aggressive. They were going after the basketball. They made these guys absolutely work ass on both ends. Give you a great point. Toward the end of the fourth, I think there was a steal or was it a break? And these, again, there were some circumstances where the Pacers didn't handle the break well at all in the fourth. I mean, you're still able to overcome some things. And that's just what they do. But there's one play, I think Halliburton shot a 3, or somebody shot a 3 and missed it, but for whatever reason, Gilgeous-Alexander was closing out on Halliburton, kind of went out of bounds and stood there. Kind of stood out of bounds, and then Halliburton went after the offensive rebound. And I think that's another thing that we discovered with Tyrese Halliburton. There's another way to get him to basketball and for him to orchestrate without making it tough and having to find him either off the inbounds pass or off the rebound. If he goes and gets it himself. Nearly had a triple-double, did Tyrese Halliburton. Got over that 20-point threshold. 11 assists. But most importantly, the 9 rebounds where he doesn't have to come and find the basketball from somebody else. He gets it and he goes. Hey, the other end is that direction. And he goes. You know how helpful that is? You talk about an extension of the break. And that's what you got. 116-107. And again, when is the last time you used the term stifling Pacers defense? 118 in the fourth quarter. Friends, that is going to get it done. And believe me, they've got another one coming up tomorrow night that they're going to have to get done. We'll find out a lot of things over the course of the afternoon. I know Miles was ill last night. I'll give Miles credit. It was a struggle absolutely through. And, of course, everybody was just like avalanching on me. This one jackass sent me something like, quote, I shill for him. I think his name is Steve something. Jackson Steve or Jack Steve. Jack Stick or something. Sent me something last night about how I shill for Miles. Now, I don't shill for Miles. I may shill for this team, but it's for a good reason because that's what it's about. It's about the team. And you know what happened as an end result? Miles hung in. Miles didn't go away. Miles struggled most of that game. He was a step slow. As we found out, he was ill. He was a step slow everywhere. But at the end of the game, when they needed him, he was there. That is a part of what? Repeat after me. The team concept that you love. I'm not suggesting you can't be critical in moments, but save the jackassery for another time. Because these guys are different. And we've explained that over and over and over again. It was a struggle. Like somebody had said lack of effort. I called it hesitation. I thought he was hesitant. Then you come to find out he's sick, but he was a step slow the entire way until what? Until it mattered. But you know what? Over the course of the other parts of the game, teammates had his back. You know what? 33 had their back late. You guys get it now? It's the team concept. It's what you're supposed to like and understand around here, and I give you credit for understanding. So hopefully last night was a great example about that. I thought that was a really good one. For somebody that goes 3-11 from the floor and 1 of 4 from distance and was struggling offensively, stayed after it and was big down the stretch. There's no doubt about that. You don't always have to score all the points. One of the biggest shots of the game was what? I think a wing 3 by Aaron Neesmith. He scored all of his 7 points. 3 off of that wing 3. Pretty big moment, wasn't it? It's team basketball. Hopefully by now you're fully aware of that because they're going to need another effort just like that coming up tomorrow night. Dustin DePierac's going to join us a little bit later on. Jeremy Schaap of ESPN. Is he still ESPN? Jeremy Schaap, right? Going to join us in the 4 o'clock hour. We're going to balance a couple of things. This series with his story on former Pacer Scott Pollard coming up with Jeremy Schaap in the 4 o'clock hour. I believe from what I am told, former Pacer guard and NBA official Haywood Workman is going to join us in studio. So we'll be ready for that coming up in the 4 o'clock hour. Chappell's going to drop in here. Am I missing anybody else right here, James? Is that it? The entirety of the show. Hey, back live tomorrow again, and right next to Gainbridge Fieldhouse before game number 4, we're going to be at the Pivot Balcony Bar inside the Hyatt House coming up tomorrow with Michelob Ultra. So there's no doubt I would love to see you there. There is a lot more I'm going to go over here, a lot more that I'm going to go over with you at 239-1070. So do not go anywhere. If you feel compelled to call, I think you should. This is a badass team. Team concept. Make sure that thoroughly soaks in. You're going to have guys that are going to look better than others sometimes, but this is a team. And they gave you that full experience last night, going up 2-1 in the NBA Finals best of 7. All right, that number again, 239-1070. Email address is jmv at 1075thefan.com. Inside the AAA membership lounge via YouTube Live. Just talk to Matt Goins. Again, the deal's going on right now. Log on, become a AAA member, especially before you go out and embark on those summertime road trips, those vacations. Become a AAA member today. The stream, the app, HD Radio, and 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
JMV.
Hey, my buddy, Swanson, full steam ahead, over there. I want to go over there. Move over, Swanson, I'm driving.
93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
Nembhard out near the timeline, centers to Turner, who hands to Halliburton. Halliburton using the Turner screen, driving to his left, cross-court pass to Neesmith, and he buries a cold-blooded three from the right sideline.
Falling out of bounds, contested, knockdown three ball.
He's got 7 points. It's 110-102. This is Indiana's largest lead of the game.
Boyle and Gill, Pacers Radio, heard right here last night. Game 4 tomorrow night. The Pivot Balcony Lounge from me tomorrow afternoon. And all of you, too, by the way, at the Hyatt House with Michelob Ultra. Can't wait to see you there. Hey, by the way, too, that was 3 of all 7 for Aaron Neesmith, who finished his night with 6 fouls. Again, let's describe this to you. And see, I normally have to do this to the rest of the NBA landscape because most of these guys, including the ESPN folks and the people covering it here, completely have head-up-the-ass syndrome. They have no idea. That is team basketball. That, what Mark Boyle just described, cold-blooded three, came from a dude that had all of 7 points. Celebrate the team concept again because there are ways and means in which you can measure exactly to the level in which this team is playing. The 20-plus from Halliburton, the 110 from the team. I mean, hell, the 18 in the defense in the fourth quarter. But you can look up and down. I mean, even if you didn't watch the game and you're a box score sniffer, you can look up and down this lineup and find guys that may not have stuffed it, but man, do they have huge moments. And that is the team concept, which is reality here. On the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline from the Indianapolis Star, Dustin DePurat covers the Pacers. He joins us now. Hello, Dustin. How are you?
Doing good, JMV. How you doing, man?
I thought last night that the Pacers, especially late, they fought fire with fire. They did. I felt to the Thunder what the Thunder like to do to basically everybody else, including the Pacers. And the Thunder's response was not, I'm assuming, what they would like.
Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, they came in. We just got out of availability with them a little bit ago, and they saw obviously a bunch of mistakes that were pretty clear to them. Obviously, they turned the ball over too much. They made some obvious mistakes, sort of just not figuring out where TJ McConnell was on, basic inbounds. He's going to do that. I mean, basically, I asked Alex Caruso, like, he does that. Like, how does that come as that much of a surprise? And he said, well, there is a lot going on. Obviously, a lot of times just had a bad defensive possession. There's still a whole lot of people there, and sometimes you just miss the guy. But they had a list of mistakes, obviously, that they can pat and say, wow, this is not something we usually do. But the Pacers put you in situations where you do things that you don't usually do. They pressure you a lot. They make it harder for you to move the basketball, take up a lot of time on your shot clock by just, picking you up early and forcing you to turn a couple times before you get the ball up and down the court. And Pacers did a really good job about that, just forcing them into pressurized situations, putting them in spots where they made mistakes, and then just outlasting them. And the Pacers did what they generally do. And the Thunder are pretty well built to not get not get destroyed by that. They did last night. Basically, I mean, the Pacers can still do that to teams, and just the fact they were able to outscore them by so much in the fourth quarter shows that the wear down effect still works for these guys.
It's Dustin DePurat of the Star, Andy Moore, Automotive Group hotline. Now, have you done the Pacers availability yet?
Yeah. We just
what's the word on Miles' illness?
Oh, he's sick. We don't know exactly what it is, but apparently he was at. Rick said that he was at their film session today, but he was not available for media. Basically, they just told him go home after that. They're hopeful he'll feel better tomorrow. Don't know like a lot of the specifics of it. Sounds the way I think Rick described it yesterday. Just that his breathing sounds respiratory. So I don't know. There's been a flu bug not a flu bug. There's been a cold bug going around the media. So
well, let me tell you what. You're talking to somebody right here. So 33 and I are brothers from that because I've been dealing with this for like the last 5 days.
Right. Yeah. It seems like it's going around.
Yeah.
So I don't know what he's got specifically, but if it's I mean, I had a hard time talking at the beginning of last week, so I don't know if it's a similar deal. or if it comes from a similar strain or what.
It looked like, I mentioned this because, obviously if things aren't going well for him, I take the brunt of it on social media. So everybody was giving me the business last night during the first 3 quarters or so, and especially during the first half. I called it being hesitant, but he looked a step slow than everybody else out there, and that's just not the game where you can compete if you're going to be a step slow. So was this all in line with what obviously had overcome him, virus, illness-wise here?
That's how Rick described it anyway. I mean, Rick was asked about him looking a little bit slow, and I guess it being mentioned that he was sick. I mean, Rick delved into that last night, basically just saying like that was the big explanation for it. It was causing him issues with breathing, and if you're having trouble breathing, you're going to be a little bit slower. You're not going to move as quick. You're not going to have as much energy, and so it seems to connect. I mean, so again, we don't have a whole lot of specifics about this is how we was feeling here, and this is how he's feeling there. But to your point, he did manage to summon some big time moments down the stretch. I mean, I think. Going back to we're talking about the team concept introducing this. I mean, he still went out there and battled and found ways of doing something. I think that the block he had, I think it was on a Holmgren 3 in the fourth quarter was massive. If you don't get that, block, they could have started a run. And so he had a couple plays. I mean, he didn't have a lot, but he had a couple plays where if you take that out of the equation, then they would have had a problem. So he obviously had to battle through what he was dealing with.
All right.
And he had 5 blocks. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah.
He was 3 of 11. I mean, he did not have a fun night of basketball, but he still showed up. I think you got to give him credit for that. That obviously, if he wasn't feeling good and he was making a lot of mistakes or just generally not moving fast enough, he still battled to the point of making impact plays, and that's pretty impressive.
Well, I mean, he saw in the second half he had under the basket, and I think one that was maybe dotted line to free throw line extended that went down, and then. I've always said this, there's no greater elixir than making some shots that makes you feel better immediately and then making some plays and getting the blood flow, and he got that done defensively as well late. Have you ever felt it necessary to describe the Pacers in terms of having a stifling defense before? Because I felt the example of that was in the fourth last night.
I mean, I have over the course of this year, not before this year. Obviously, but you saw them change. I mean, I think the game that really told me that they were on to something different was that comeback they had in Cleveland in January. I think I want to say they outscored Cleveland in the second half, 68-40. It was after when that game. Halliburton was a little tight at halftime and didn't come out for the second half, and I think they were down by 15 at the break, and they just dialed it up pressure-wise and just forced Cleveland out of everything they wanted to do. So you've seen it, and it was. It was absolutely stifling in the fourth quarter. I mean, I think I saw a stat Oklahoma City didn't have a bucket in the last. I only had one bucket in the last 5:57 or something along those lines. That's massive. To be able to come up with that kind of stop in that kind of moment when you need to have one and you're trying to put a game away. That was really impressive. They just strung so many together. They really were. But it is proof of the growth. And we talked for the last 3 years really about this team defensively and what it would have to do to make strides and what it would have to do to get better. And you finally saw it really come to fruition this year.
Yeah, it's funny. I said all along.
I don't even know. A bunch of guys in there. Sorry about that.
Who were you talking to right there?
I'm out at the Boys and Girls Club on 30th Street, so they're having an NBA Cares event. So they were asking who's in there. So.
No, who's out there?
I know. I saw Mathurin. I haven't had a chance to get inside yet.
By the way, maybe the greatest interview of all time is Benedict Mathurin. You just scored 27 points in an NBA Finals Game 3. And he looked like he scored 3 buckets in a game at the Ursay Y. That's his reaction to it. It was amazing.
Yeah, that's Ben Mathurin. You just never know with him, man.
I love it, though. What you do know is that he's going to give you one of those at some point. And, man, last night, was that a life preserver in Game 3 for this Pacers team? That effort, that offensive output, he was as money as you can get when it was as necessary for this team to have.
Yeah, no, 100%. Second quarter, he was when he and McConnell got going in the second quarter, that just totally changed the entire dynamic of the rest of the game. And obviously, they didn't take full control at that point, but they win that period 40-28. A lot of that is just him getting going and him sitting on some of those big shots, and basically, and then he comes back in the third and the fourth and makes some big buckets too. And so when you can get that, and obviously that's one of the biggest areas of where they had an edge last night was the bench points. And, Thunder have a good bench, and that was a big reason why they won game 2 is because they had so many from Caruso and Wiggins. In this case, Mathurin and McConnell really answered back, and even Toppin. I thought, obviously Toppin's tipped up with massive, but Mathurin being Mathurin is such a huge deal. I mean, you never, sometimes he's not an easy fit with what all they do, but sometimes he's exactly what you need. And last night was one of those nights.
Dustin DePierac of the Stars on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So we saw Holmgren and Hartenstein mostly together, but only logged, I think, about 5 minutes so far in the NBA Finals. And it hasn't seemed like a big deal. Maybe if you're down 2-1, does it start to become a bigger deal and something that the staff at OKC may look at in terms of a slight modification before tomorrow night's Game 4?
Yeah, I mean, you got to look at it, but I mean, it's just a question of what are you giving up? I mean, that's kind of always been a tough call, I think, when are you setting yourself up, for a bigger problem? And I think that's kind of the issue. The thing that they're worried about is, all right, especially if you're starting it, do you trust either one of those guys to guard Pascal Siakam? I mean, they're big, they're long, they've got size and everything like that, and that's great. And any one of them keep up with him, and any one of them keep him in front of them, basically. And it's sort of like he's just really, really slippery. And if you put one of those guys on him, he just ends up cooking one of those guys. Have you gained anything, or have you put yourself in a bigger hole? I'm sure they're asking themselves the question every day when they can do it, and I think they've obviously put those guys on there in scenarios where they felt good about the other matchups. And Toppin and Bryant were on the floor at the same time and stuff like that. But I mean, I think the biggest thing and the reason why they didn't start them together in the first place is they're not sure about how that matchup works against Siakam and Turner.
Yeah, I don't know about it either. I thought maybe it was kind of overreacting after game number 1, for example, the way they lost. But I think maybe something you think a little bit more about, because I'll be honest with you, Dustin, I had not seen OKC and their guys, especially Holmgren, for example, look as gassed as they were at the end of that game last night.
Sure. No, they absolutely. That's the most exhaustion you've seen on behalf of them, and that's a permanent thing when the series is over. Basically, if they're done, if they're worn out, then certainly the Pacers have the edge and they're not coming back. But no, I mean, I think they were able to really run. They were able to get going. They were able to create some turnovers, and that wears those guys out. And it doesn't make it any easier if you're throwing 2 7-footers out there who are going to get gassed a little bit easier. That doesn't necessarily help the cause. So even when they have played small, they've had a hard time keeping up with these guys, and obviously they've got to find a way to change the game so that the Pacers aren't creating that kind of pace. That they're not, creating those kind of turnovers, those kinds of things. Like the Thunder desperately need to find a way to change that. And I don't know if playing bigger solves that problem.
Hey, 110 and the Pacers win, and Halliburton going over 20. Is there anything that's more of a lock in terms of NBA basketball than those 2 stats for the Pacers to win?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. I mean, obviously they've lost some games where they've been over 110, but not many. Basically, if they can get over there and they can get Halliburton over 20, it's a big deal. And so that just tells you the offense is whirling pretty good. If they haven't, if they can't hold you under 110, that means they're not stopping you, and those guys are generally operating the way that they want to. So yeah, no, you can generally trust that a lot of things are going right if those 2 things are happening.
Hey, Dustin, in closing here, how many dudes last night took a piece from SGA defensively in Game 3 for the Pacers?
Man, I mean, Nembhard, Shepard, Nesmith a little bit. I'm trying to think if there was a 4th one, who had a piece. But obviously, there's a bunch of them.
Did Mathurin check him at all?
I'm trying to remember. That doesn't stand out to me off the top of my head, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen.
No, it was.
So I know he was on Williams. I know he lost some of those battles with Williams.
I will say this, and then it is so important with him to guard without fouling. And I thought those guys did a tremendous job. And then I thought the help was tremendous as well, because there wasn't very many times where they gave up very much on the back end trying to make sure or try to get the ball out of his hands. I thought it was a great defensive effort there.
No, it really was. No, it really was. I mean, obviously, you've got to live with the fact that you're going to give up a bunch to him. Like you're not holding him at 20. Basically, and you just have to live with that and say, okay, like every time he makes one, just keep coming back. Don't think of it as, oh man, he got me there. What am I ever going to do? You just keep coming back and fighting, and just got to be physical with him the next time. And Nembhard and Nesmith both did pick up a bunch of fouls, but guys kept coming after him. Shepard did an okay job. I think McConnell might have spent some time on him. I'm not really sure. Like, I'm trying to even remember how all that shook out. But yeah, I mean, they did a really good job of continuing to guard, continuing to go after him. And if somebody got stuck on him in a switch, keep fighting there. I thought that there was a lot of ways they did a good job in those circumstances.
Dustin DePurak of the Stars on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Nothing otherwise noteworthy from the meeting with both teams earlier today during get-togethers.
Yeah, nothing that stood out as far as news. Obviously a lot of interesting things in terms of how each team talked about what they did right, what they did wrong, and how they have to fix it for Game 4. But I don't think that there wasn't anything that about who's not playing or who is playing or anything else that stands out as kind of a news item.
Crowd, the loudest you've ever heard it in Gainbridge Fieldhouse last night, Dustin?
No, I'd say so.
Yeah.
No, I'd definitely say so. I mean, it was, and it's been loud at every playoff game. I mean, they've shown up for every single playoff game, but I think this is the best time.
Appreciate you, man. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Will do. Thanks so much for having me.
Dustin DePurak of the Stars of the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline to get you caught up again. 2-1, best of 7, Game 4, the NBA Finals with the Thunder and the Pacers coming up tomorrow night. The Pivot Balcony Bar at the Hyatt House with Michelob Ultra is our location. And I thought for a while, James, I would have to double back here, but I believe there is a way that if I want to hang there until 8, we can hang there until 8. Leave it to the dude to get something done right here.
Things in the works right now?
Leave it to the dude to get something done. And we'll talk about that. Actually, this is not something airworthy. We'll talk about it first around here privately and then bring it to you. But I can't wait to see you tomorrow beginning at 3 o'clock. Pivot Balcony Bar, Hyatt House before Game 4 with Michelob Ultra. Cannot wait. Quick break. We'll come back. A busy show. I'll reset. Talk more about game number 3 last night next.
Ride with JMV.
You take drugs, Danny?
Every day.
Good. So what's the problem?
I don't know.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
In the paint, falling down to Siakam. Now McConnell. Free throw line against Cason Wallace. Jumps it inside, and Siakam got it and lays it in.
How does he come up with that basketball? And look at T.J. McConnell.
T.J. McConnell with the steal. Siakam for three. It's no good. McConnell the rebound to Mathurin, who lays it in.
Gotta love that. Chris Denary, the second quarter. Actually told me that yesterday. Wanted to make sure we kept that under wraps when he was with me at the pub. But by the way, a shout out to Mark Boyle for letting that happen. That sounded great. And here's how I knew that it was impactful, James, is because during the game last night, my mom called and said, "Oh, Denary's doing the radio." I went, okay. Said, "How many devices do you have going on in your house right here?" It's happening. So I think she was wearing the Obi Toppin jersey as a cape, and who knows what the hell was happening. Chris Denary's on in the second quarter. So that was good. No, I thought that was great of Mark to suggest that. And listen, there are a lot of things that you know me. I love radio to its core. That right there to me is radio content to its core. I love that. Absolutely great. Now, on a completely different end of the spectrum, if you're going to ask me, which would you rather do? Take on a question that asks, did you hear what Stephen A. Smith had to say this morning about Halliburton, or would you rather go have yourself an enema? I'll pick the enema. Thank you very much. Because I don't give jack squat nothing what Stephen A. had to say about Tyrese Halliburton or anything. Give me the enema.
Honestly, the enema would probably have better opinions on basketball than Stephen A. Smith.
Bo Hika on the enema right there. Can I say that on the air? I just did.
You just did.
Too late. Give me the enema. Yeah, it's tough. The phrasing right there is tough. I respect you to ask the question, but no, I didn't. And I sure as hell don't care. Halliburton was fan-stinking-tastic last night. Halliburton is perfect, again, for this team and this organization and this fan base. And seriously, everybody else can just kind of go to hell a little bit, right? Can they? Whether you're a hardcore Knicks fan or anything, who cares? And by the way, what a yakety sax kind of situation it is in New York. Hey, let's throw a dart at a dartboard. Here's the coach that we want to get a hold of we can't talk to today. Great job. Yeah, concentrate on that, and then let Adam Silver wonder why nobody's watching his product when all these guys de-pants it every single moment of the day. So, and again, that's something that Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner who's in town, also needs to understand. At some point, some of the sheep out there are going to act just like that, and they're going the direction of these idiots who are yapping about how much all this sucks. Way that it is. Quick break. We'll come back. Me and you on the other side. Load up some calls. I'm ready to talk with you. Josh, Robert, Tyler. We'll start right there. 2-1, best of 7 NBA Finals. Got you covered. Game 4 tomorrow on location. I believe Haywood Workman, the former Pacer and NBA official, will be in studio. Jeremy Schaap is going to join us. Chappell as well. Sit tight. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
I don't know what to say. I guess the only thing I can say is I'll promise to keep rocking and rolling, making better films.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Gilgeous-Alexander finds the open man in the near corner, but Dort missed a three. Weak side rebound swallowed up by Toppin. Here comes Halliburton. Outnumbered, he slows and waits. Now drives forward with the left hand, floating to the glass. No, but Y-E-S! As Toppin pulled it off the front of the rim and flushed it with two hands.
Goes flying out of nowhere and just sits on one.
107-100.
Mark Boyle, Eddie Gill, Pacers Radio. My friend Greg said, my entire life I've wanted to have a follow dunk like Obi had last night. I think all of us did, right? That's your dream follow dunk. Shout out to Tony Donahue that just sent me an X message that Detlef Shrimp is on the inbound for game number 4 tomorrow. I saw the former Pacers there last night. Good to see Mark Jackson back in the building. Good to see Reggie Miller rocking the Mark Jackson jersey. Good to see Reggie Miller on the sideline getting in position and wanting to do a little coaching. I dig it. And then it's good to see all the Knicks criers on social media. Well, he's supposed to be objective about things. Great. That's funny. There's nothing better than Knicks fans' tears. And you get a lot of them. And it is also great that their organization is so rotten full of jackassery that they can't do anything right. It's beautiful. You get to the Eastern Conference Finals, you're that good this season, and you're still able to jackass it up is just a beautiful thing. That's the gift that keeps on giving. JMV calling people who don't enjoy these finals sniffers of butts has me howling. Seriously. Butt sniffers. Where's my elite level player? Well, I just can't watch because Steph Curry's not out there. Where's Giannis? I can't watch because they're not stars. I certainly would rather watch Jalen Brunson and Cat in the half court take 30 days. That's fun. And stand around. Bob your head. Bait somebody into a foul. That's fun. That's enjoyable. Team basketball this is, right? Even the Celtics. 3 ball here, 3 ball there. There's Jaylen Brown with a 3. There's Jason Tatum with a 3. Hey, there's a 3 and 3 and 3. Which I know is a part of the game. That may be a bad example. But there are a lot of really strong examples. Yeah, let's make sure. We got to get that marquee player, that big market in there so everybody cares. Yeah, got to get that. We're the Lakers. I'm going to watch that. That's fun. Seriously, if you don't thoroughly enjoy this series, you're not a basketball fan. I feel confident in telling you that you are not a fan of basketball. You are a sniffer of butts. 100%. And you're easy to track down. You're easily defined. JMV, what you said about ESPN depancing their product that they cover is absolutely accurate. I'm not suggesting that the commissioners should dictate exactly what these guys say, but over and over again, all this sucks. And then having your guys not, like Kendrick Perkins, didn't even know who these guys were a week ago. And he told everybody, I have no idea who these guys are. Yeah, that's what you want right there. They are so in need. These TNT guys coming in next year are the equivalent of Benedict Mathurin coming off the bench as the 10th, by the way, the 10th man last night. Isn't that another definition of team? The 10th dude in. I'm the 10th guy in, and I am going to 27 point you. The 10th guy. Seriously. It's like Dan Devine finally, and I'm not trying to equate Mathurin to Rudy, but it's that, yeah, go ahead and put him in. 10th guy coming in. Swoops in and absolutely saves the day. Nah, it's not good fortune. There's a lot of good fortune in what the Pacers have been a part of during this playoff run. It's been very enjoyable. But the most enjoyable for me is the team concept because, again, if you are from around here and you've been a lover of basketball, this essentially is what you have been taught your entire life. From birth until now. That's what they do. Everything that you've ever been told about why you shouldn't like the NBA. Remember all the folks around you in the past? Well, I don't watch the NBA because it's not team ball. It's individual ball. I like college basketball. It's more team. I like high school. It's more team. There is nothing more team than what you see with the Pacers. And I mean nothing. Watch your next college basketball game unless you're watching Purdue and they move it. They have ball movement. They actually cut and they screen. They move. They don't just stand there and work on the dribble. They have high ball. Everybody has high ball action going. People will do high ball screens. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, especially this past year with Edey, I mean, you can find certainly more isolation, but there are not a lot of teams that cut and move with the team concept in mind, quite like what the Pacers do. And I'll give credit to Oklahoma City because they also do it. By the way, OKC looked gassed at the end of the game. You know, what's funny about all this, and there's a great deal of celebration, and I'm glad you are. I thought the fan base was great last night. Outstandingly loud when it was necessary, uplifting when it was necessary. I mentioned this before the game yesterday on the show at the pub. I mean, you could tell the people around here were chomping at the bit to be a part of this. It's been such a long time. In 25 years for the Pacers to be in the finals. Man, the Colts have been mediocre for the past basically 10 plus. This was like therapeutic. Like medicine. And you could tell, or elixir, however you want to put it. You could tell. Just makes everybody feel better. What's interesting, though, not only will you have OKC have to jump back after the way that they went out of the fourth quarter, scoring 18 points, and really having the Pacers do to them what they normally do to others defensively. But, I mean, the Pacers also have to jump back after a day, too. And this is still a must-win situation coming up tomorrow night. I don't care what anybody says. You do not surrender advantages. And the one thing, keep this in mind, that above all else the Pacers have struggled with this season is what? What have we learned? Prosperity. Being in a good spot, a prime position. And we have seen them, and it really doesn't matter what the situation. I've said it before. It could be December against Charlotte or, right now. But being able to deal with that position while remaining in the best possible position yourself, that would be described as winning game number 4. Giving yourself, if need be, 3 opportunities, and especially one opportunity to close it at home. And listen, I'm not going to get ahead of myself on this. I often try to imagine what it might be like around here if they bring home that first championship in the NBA. It does seem absolutely incredible. But first things first, you have to take care of what you can take care of. And it's going to be easier said than done because there's not a lot, and I've said this before, to hate about the Thunder because they are fun to watch. They get up and down the floor. They play with a similar team concept. They lock down defensively like nobody's business. And again, if you love basketball, you absolutely love this. All right, 239-1070 is that number. I know James is over there with the old adapter. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. Is he here, by the way? Or are you just getting that? All right, 239-1070. I owe some people some calls. My bad on the delay. Too much yip-yapping from this host. We got to get to you, and Josh starts on line 1. Hello, Josh. How are you?
Yeah, what's going on, Jay, man? I'm so proud of this team, man.
You should be. Yes, you should be.
one thing I said before this series started, I believed we would split in OKC, and I thought OKC would split here. Now, Game 5 is critical. We have to win tomorrow because Game 5 will be critical. I said going into the series, I thought that because OKC, they're just like the Pacers. They bounce back. They haven't lost 2 in a row in a while, So I really, Game 5, if we lose, and I'm hoping we can pull out Friday. But Game 5 would be pivotal. That was the one because I really thought OKC will be probably a little resilient. But the way we played on Wednesday night, it looked like we started to wear OKC down. But I think they'll bounce back. I don't think they'll just roll over.
No, they won't. There's no way in the world that is going to happen. And you're right. There's another must-win situation, Game 4 tomorrow night. You don't want to give anything up, give anything away. If there's an underlining, to me, theme of this series so far is you lose when you do what? Is when you give it up. And I'm talking about in terms of the basketball. They gave it up 17 times last night at OKC. They lost. Now, the Pacers are lucky in game number 1, giving it up 24 times and still winning. But the moral of the story here, you give it up, you put yourself in peril in a situation. You can't give up a home game loss tomorrow night if you're the Pacers. It can't happen.
Well, honestly, I think that has more to do with OKC's pressure defense.
It does. No question. I thought the Pacers got used to that. I thought they got used to it in the second half of Game 1, and they turned them over, 15 times in Game 2, and maybe it was 14 times last night. And
we're getting better with it. We're getting better at taking care of the ball each game.
I would agree. I thought three of those came on just bad decisions on the break, and it wasn't last night about OKC's pressure. It was just not a good decision, if that makes sense. So what did they turn it over 14 times last night? So I think there are 3 opportunities on the break that they kind of gave up a little bit aimlessly right there. You clean that up, and you're really feeling good about that number.
Yeah, we're really good. And if Miles is knocking down his jump shot, it's really, man, I have loved the Pacers all the way back. I mean, I remember I'm 35 years old. So now I remember I started watching basketball about 4 or 5 years old. I remember the Pacers' first run, beating Orlando, beating Atlanta, then losing to the Knicks. Then turn around, we beat Atlanta, beat the Knicks, then turn around, lose to Orlando, lose to Atlanta in the first round next year. The next year we don't make the playoffs. Next year we lose to Jordan. Next year the 4-point play, Larry Johnson, that 8th seeded Knicks team beat us. Then 2000 hit, we lose to Kobe and Shaq. Then fast forward up to the Brawl year. Then
there's always been something. While you're saying there's always been something. Yeah.
The year before that, the Tayshaun Prince block.
We have not had a moment like this where you are right now up 2-1. And listen, I'm not suggesting they're in control, but because they have the advantage of home court, you take care of that tomorrow night. And I don't know who would have thought they would be in that position, Josh? Nobody. So that's good to hear. Yeah. All right, Josh, I appreciate your call, man.
Yes, sir.
And enjoy the game coming up tomorrow night. The Pivot Balcony Bar inside the Hyatt House is our location tomorrow with Michelob Ultra beginning at 3. Robert's next at 239-1070. Robert, welcome to the show.
Hey, John, I'll get right to it. Ben Mathurin, ever since I've been watching him play, he's reminded me of somebody, and I couldn't put my finger on it. And since the Pacers were in the finals, I was watching some old ABA footage, and it hit me. He is the second coming of Roger Brown. I'm not saying he's as good as Roger, but his mannerisms and the way, his moves and the way he gets his own shot, if you watch that old Roger Brown footage, it's very similar.
Well, he had himself a great night last night when his team absolutely needed it, for real.
Yeah, and as far as Thibodeau and Barkley saying that the Knicks are so dumb for firing him, I don't think so. I think he deserved it. I think that, they got to their first conference championship since the 90s, and the big knock against him is he doesn't play his bench. He runs his starters into the ground. So So that's exactly what he does in the first 2 games. They run out of gas at the end. And then I thought he was cutting his own throat when he started playing his bench in game 3. The next 3 games, they win 2 out of 3. They play much better, and he proves what a dumbass he was in games 1 and 2.
Here's what I love, though. Even beyond that, it's just the whole ineptitude that it looks like with that organization. Let's just say they made bad calls. I mean, not realizing that Dante DiVincenzo was really big in the grand scheme of what they do, and then letting him go in that trade for Karl Anthony Towns. And this is kind of fiasco trying to track down coaches that are unavailable to speak with. It's just kind of funny to me.
Yes, I totally agree.
Robert, what else you got, bud?
I thought he was the heart of that team, Dante. You're right. That's about all I got. Thank you, man.
Robert, thank you very much for the call. I just like when they jackass around the way that is right there. Robert, thank you very much. Kenny's on board next at 239-1070. Kenny, hello.
How we doing, Johnny? How
Kenny,
about
I'm great.
Pacers, baby?
How about that? Kenny, are you feeling good out there? Kenny, how good are you feeling? Let us know.
I'm feeling really good. And what really makes me happy is the butt sniffers are having a heart attack right now. And
the butt sniffers
are. Loving the jackassery, my man.
The jackassery is real, and the butt sniffers are having a tough time. There's no doubt.
Yep, full effect right now, my dude. But that's about all I got, John. Have a blessed day, brother.
Kenny, I love it when you call up and you reference butt sniffers and jackassery. That makes me excited. Makes me laugh, too. And by the way, the butt sniffers are references to those that don't like this brand of basketball. And I'm talking about both OKC and the Pacers. If you don't think this is great basketball, high-level basketball, you are an idiot. Complete idiot. And again, as I will tell you, those that do the NBA, not all, but some at ESPN, the partner of the NBA, are the worst examples of really pointing those with decisions not to watch in that particular direction. Well done. Well done. And listen, sometimes you're dealing with people that don't know any better. Oh, well, they said it. Kendrick Perkins says it stinks. Okay, great. Kendrick Perkins says that's your first mistake right there. Anything that starts with, well, Kendrick Perkins says or Stephen A. says, that's your first mistake. And as I mentioned, if you're out there just for the star power, and that's what you have to watch, then we all know this to be true. And listen, this is not me trying to bestow an Indiana basketball high-level arrogance on everybody, but it is true. Let's face it, we know better than anybody else. We do. We know better than anybody else. I don't care what you're talking about. New York City or L.A. or wherever else it might be, Chicago, we know better about team basketball. You guys know it when you see it. You don't have to be told. Well, I mean, a couple of you do because you're stupid, but not all of you. 98% of you know exactly what you see when you see it. We do know. It's not an arrogant statement. It's just the absolute truth. And that's how it is around here. And I will say this about OKC. They're equally as fun to watch. Dangerous as hell. I think it was Robert, or I can't remember. Robert or Josh. No, Josh said a little bit earlier, well, they're not going to. Hell no, they're not going to go away. They're not going to go away at all. They are a lethal group. They just struggled with the Pacers giving them the business that they normally hand out to everybody else. And defensively, an 18-point fourth quarter, and defensively, 17 turnovers in a game. That is an absolute rarity for OKC. Got a lot of their own medicine last night. And the Pacers gave it to them. Jonas, formerly of Arizona, up next on line 4. Hello, Jonah.
Hey, John. How are you?
Jonah, I'm great. Go ahead.
Well, I only have about 25% knowledge, but you know what? I try to give it my 100% all.
That's a good idea right here. Sometimes I've got 25% of the knowledge, but I give it 100%, which means I think 75% stupidity. Yes.
Yeah, right.
That's how it works out with me.
I've listened to some national guys, and I could just tell that they are like disgusted that they have to talk about the Pacers. And it is
because you have to do work. It's something that you just don't. Oh, by the way, I notice all season long because I pay attention. Now you have to do a little bit of work, and nobody at that level want to do work. They got to have somebody tell it to them.
Exactly. And so I think that there's only 2 days in between. No, actually 1 day in between games. I think that's going to actually be a disadvantage for the Thunder. So my biggest thing is, do the Pacers outpace the Thunder? Because the Thunder are actually the youngest team in the NBA, if I recall correctly, but the Pacers are not far behind. I was wondering to see how they would do from a stamina standpoint, and last night showed that they can't. I saw Shea on the court just huffing and puffing, and he was waiting for his guys to help him up instead of getting up on his own on 2 different occasions.
Well, he stood around and watched a couple of times, and one was on a Halliburton offensive rebound. I will advise you of this, Jonah. I do have to run, but
okay.
Yeah, this is going to be game to game. Like, I would not suggest that because they looked that way at the end of this game that's going to be the case, Jonah, coming up tomorrow night. Yeah, don't fall into that trap. You can easily fall into it, but these guys are way too damn good. I wish it would be for the Pacers. I wish it would be that easy, but it simply put will not. Keep the mindset that Benedict Mathurin showed everybody in his performance, and then in the post-game interview with Scott Van Pelt, if you saw that. It is like all business. And people used to think that was like overblown and not real, but it's 100% real. Yeah. It's not over until the job is finished. So I wouldn't expect the end of last night's game to dictate too much about what you see. I hope that's the case, but I certainly wouldn't expect it in Game 4 coming up tomorrow night. You guys are awesome. 239-1070. Jeremy Schaap still to come. Don't go anywhere. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Ride with JMV.
Smokey, this is not Nam. This is bowling. There are rules.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
And it's a 4-point Oklahoma City lead at 36-32. McConnell, front court, beats Wallace out in the corner right. A three by Mathurin, perfect!
I love it there by McConnell. He just immediately attacks and gets 2 feet in the paint, gets the 3 ball for Mathurin in the far side corner.
That's Denary and Eddie Gill right there, Pacers Radio. Shout out to Mark Boyle again for having Denary in for the second quarter. And shout out to my mom for texting me or calling me during the game. Yeah, texting, right, my mom. And saying, Chris Denari's on the radio right now. That's how you know that your content has great reach when you get to G down in Greene County listening to the game last night. Again, Pacers Radio game number 4 coming up tomorrow night prior to. I've got 5 hours locked for you coming up at Pivot Balcony Bar in the Hyatt House right across Pennsylvania. We're with Michelob Ultra tomorrow afternoon beginning at 3. I want to see everybody there right across from Gainbridge Fieldhouse prior to game number 4 of the NBA Finals. Meantime, on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, you realize the name immediately. Longtime sports reporter, long time with ESPN. And there's an interesting dynamic, not just regarding the NBA Finals, but with a former Pacer right here. You guys know the story because Scott Pollard is a friend of the show and still is here locally. It's an E60 report from Jeremy Schaap, and we're talking about Scott Pollard and Pacers and more with Jeremy right now on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Hey, Jeremy, welcome to the show in Indy. How are you?
Thanks so much for having me. It's an exciting time out there in India. I understand. I've been led to believe.
What do you gather from what you've witnessed so far? You know, obviously you've been in and out of this market a number of times, but
yes,
in particular with this team. Hey, Jeremy, I'll frame it up to you this way. I think both sides of the basketball with OKC and the Pacers are the greatest example in the NBA Finals we have seen in forever of complete team basketball with team basketball depth. And I thought the Pacers played that to their best of an ability last night. I think it's genuinely high-level basketball.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. And, you know, it's great to see so much exciting basketball, especially when, you know, some of the national talk has been, we've got 2 smaller markets. We're not going to get great ratings. You know, it's just weird to me. And I'm from New York, so, you know, we never worry about ratings with New York or anything. But, you know, when I grew up, and I'm 55, the average fan didn't care about what the ratings were. You care about the games. You care about the competition. That's what it's about, right? And we're getting some great basketball.
Yeah, it's incredible. Well, I've had special terms for those. If you don't like this matchup and the high level of this basketball, I've got to question you as a basketball fan, honestly. And sometimes you hear so much from those that have the loudest voices about how bad this is going to be and the ratings are bad and the small market stuff, that I think it does drive an audience away. And in terms of that, that's something I think Adam Silver should be dealing with at some point, because these two teams essentially, Jeremy, are going to be around here for a long time. It's not going to be just this year in a major spotlight for these two organizations.
Yeah, it doesn't seem that way. I was at Game 7 against the Knicks last year at the Garden. And that's the only time I got to. My dog's starting to growl over here on the couch. She's going crazy, but don't mind her. It was obviously those Knicks were banged up and everything, but this is an exciting team to watch. And obviously OKC's got incredible talent, had an incredible season. I think it's good for the game.
That's Jeremy Schaap of ESPN with us. His E60 story is one that certainly we know a great deal around here because he's a friend of the show, friend of the station, former Pacer Scott Pollard. This seems like this is a story, just doing a little bio work that you have done within this E60 report of yours. This is one that's really close to your heart, literally and figuratively right here, is it not?
Well, I think it's just a really compelling story, and Scott is such an interesting guy. I really didn't spend a lot of time with him. I just came out to Indy last fall and spent a day with him to do, what we call kind of the main sit-down interview for the show. But the director, Dan Lindbergh, he spent a lot of time with Scott, with his family, in the intensive care unit down at Vanderbilt. And Scott was in there for more than 3 weeks when he went through the process of getting a new heart. And the story, it's about, obviously, Scott's career, about his childhood, about this incredible connection he had with his father, Pearl, who was a legendary figure in basketball in Montana, in Utah, and who was his hero. And when Scott was 16, died on the heart transplant list, waiting for a new heart. And so when Scott was going through the same thing 33 years later, 34 years later, that's really what this is all about. And that's why it's on Father's Day.
Well, and what you mentioned how compelling this story is. What was along the lines of doing this? What was the most compelling aspect of it that you got to take in during this?
Well, I think there are a few things about it. I think, Scott's story is very interesting. He was obviously a guy who made the most out of his talents. In those great Kansas teams in the second half of the 1990s, then playing for more than a decade in the NBA, with the, starting with the Pistons and then with the Kings and obviously with the Pacers and winning a championship with the Celtics in 2008, and a big personality, one of those guys who was flamboyant, who was hard-nosed, who did the little things that you've got to do. And that was his story, throughout his career, going back, to Lawrence. But the decisions that have to be made in these situations, and then the amount of access, frankly, from a filmmaking standpoint, that our crews had and that Dan had as this was going on. That's the thing. If you watch it, I think that people will just be. It's hard to, once you see it, it's hard to forget in that process. And being there with Scott in the ICU all that time for a false alarm initially when they thought they were going to get a new heart and it ended up not being the right heart. And all of that and all of the emotional turmoil that comes with it, right? You're going into that operating theater and you don't know, your family doesn't know if you're ever coming out of there. You don't know how you're going to react to this. And, the heart, of course, John, right, is also a metaphor for all these other things. It always has been, in every culture. And when you think about Scott Pollard, right, it sounds, hackneyed, but here's a guy who's all heart, right? And then going through this process and what it represents, when your heart starts to fail and finding a new one and knowing that your life is now going to be made possible because another family has just had a horrible tragedy take place. So all of the things that you have to process as this is going on, as you are on that list, as you are being wheeled into the operating room, as you are in recovery and then being discharged and now going on and leading the rest of your life, that's what this is all about.
So Jeremy Schaap of ESPN, the E60 Report is on Father's Day, coming up on Sunday. It debuts at 1 o'clock on ESPN. You mentioned just how compelling, as I said, it was for you. How often are these moments for you doing these stories, Jeremy, as moving as this one might have been for you a number of times?
It's interesting, right? We do these kinds of stories. It's one of the things that our brand is about at E60 for the last 20 years. And I had done a story, I want to say it was now about 4 years ago, about Matt Millen, the great pro football linebacker. And he went through a heart transplant process as well. And we followed him step by step. And Matt's the guy I already knew as opposed to Scott. And we've got a story, in a few weeks about Jim Abbott and his journey. And so, which is entirely different, but, so often these stories are about surmounting obstacles, whatever those obstacles might be. And when you have that opportunity, as I do as the reporter on a lot of these projects, to sit down and ask people questions, often for hours and hours and hours and hours, about the most intimate things in their lives, the most challenging things in their lives, and ask them those questions and listen to them and talk to their spouses and their kids and their parents. It's a privilege, and you immerse yourself as best you can in their stories when you're doing it. And there aren't a lot of places, right, in journalism and storytelling on TV where you can do these kinds of stories. And I've just been very lucky for a long time that we are in situations, right, where we get to talk to people about these things that are very meaningful. And I was talking about Matt Millen, actually. Scott, one of the reasons I understand that he agreed to let us do this and follow him and be part of this journey with him was that he'd seen the Matt Millen story and some of our other stories. So, it kind of builds on each other, these stories.
And also too, Jeremy, in closing here, it's great that you're giving the window of time to be able to thoroughly go over the story, as opposed to our era now where it seems like everything has to be digested in like a 15-second clip. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
no.
That's great.
These hour-long shows, it's great. And sometimes they're longer than that. And, my dad did this for a long time, as you guys know, and his stories, they had to be 2 minutes and 15 seconds, most of them. He did longer ones for 2020 as well. But those ABC stories that he did for 30 years at NBC, they were 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Not 2:14, not 2:16, usually 2:15, right? and which is an art form, right? I'm glad we get to do this in longer form too, and I know he'd be jealous.
Man, let me tell you this. It's awesome that I get to talk with you because there are so many times we're the same age, 55, and there are times that I go, man, I got to watch 2020 or I got to watch Nightline, and now I go back and go, how much I embrace those moments when I did watch those. You know what I mean? It's just got a different world of the way that we digest content now than when it was back then. And it was amazing to get to know people like your father, certainly back then, and just an incredible level of greatness for so many years doing what he did.
That's nice of you to say. I really appreciate it.
It's Jeremy Schaap right there. Heart of Pearl debuts Sunday, June the 15th at 1 o'clock on ESPN. The extended version streaming afterward on ESPN Plus. By the way, if you know Jeremy, Andy Hall, you know that I'm going to have all the information in front of me to make sure everybody around here is going to be watching that coming up on Father's Day Sunday. Because
I love it.
Nobody is better than he is doing that. Hey, Jeremy, thank you for the time today, and come back to town sometime very soon.
Thanks so much, Sean.
It's Jeremy Schaap of ESPN on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I should add to this regarding Scott Pollard and his situation that you can catch our friend from Query & Company, Jake Query, with his Feel Good Friday interview every Friday. And it's about what he went through with his heart situation with FranciscanHealth.org screening bundles. That is Franciscan Health Heart Centers. It just kind of occurred to me to make sure that to go along with what we just did with Jeremy Schaap, we mention every Friday, Jake has his Feel Good Friday conversations, and you know about Jake's story. You know about Jeff Rickard's story here. And all compelling, all personalized, much like what you're going to witness coming up on Father's Day Sunday regarding friend of this show, Scott Pollard. Heart of Pearl. That's Sunday, June the 15th, 1 o'clock on ESPN. He's coming in studio, actually, too. And Paris and Haywood Workman on the inbound coming up next. Don't go anywhere. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
any dumber. You go and do something like this and totally redeem yourself.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Jeremy Schaap of ESPN is E60 with Scott Pollard coming up on Sunday, I should say, 1 o'clock on Father's Day. All right, in studio, I see my man Amps over there.
What's up, buddy?
Amp, you better shout in that microphone right there.
Oh,
you seen
man,
one of those
I didn't
things
know
before?
I was talking today. I was just here as a spectator.
Look at you. Well, you're multimedia over there. You're doing 19 different things. And look who is in here. Former Pacer guard, the former NBA official for 13 seasons. Haywood Workman is in town. Hello, Haywood. How are you?
How you doing, man? Thanks for having me.
Great to see you.
Thank you. Glad to be back in Indy.
You were here when the Pacer pride was restored. I mean, for many people around here, that's when the Pacers started to really become a thing back in the 90s.
Yeah, I'm glad that they signed me as the 15th player on that team. And Pooh Richardson got hurt and gave me an opportunity.
He gave you an opportunity right there, and you took off and you ran with that. How enjoyable was it to be around here all those years, especially in the 90s?
Man, Indy's like second home, you know. And the people welcomed me and embraced me, and it just made it fun. And it gave me a chance to, you know, show my talents, and people supported me, and so I just tried to give my best effort.
Yeah, and you saw the response, and that's kind of what you see around here right now. It was very new for the people back then, but now you kind of see the response. There's no better place to be when you're playing high-level, successful basketball than around here, because people know it here, and that is the truth.
Yes, basketball is basketball anywhere.
Yeah.
It everywhere is right here in Indianapolis. So coming to a state like this and in a city like this that embraces us, and that run we had, the fan base and the, you know, just the excitement, I can see it. Like when I played, I see it here now, but it's just even more. It's bigger.
Did you hang with all your teammates last night at the field house?
A few of them showed up that I played with. Mark Jackson.
That's good to see him,
Baby
too.
Al.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Dale, you know, those guys I played with. But it was good to see the guys that I didn't play with and got to talk to them. And like me and Meta, we were talking about how would we defend, you know, SGA? How would we do it?
How would you do it?
Well,
pray.
I would have had the luxury of having a hand check.
You would have.
I would have had the luxury of having a hand check. I just think that you force him one way. Just don't give him the option.
Sure.
Because a lot of times that he's playing with the ball, he's just trying to get a rhythm. So if you just force him one way and make him beat you, make him take a tough shot, I think that's in your advantage as opposed to just trying to play him straight up. Because now you think he's going to go left, he'll cross over and go right, and now you're behind. So just forcing one way, and like I said, I had the luxury of having a hand check.
Yeah. Well, and things certainly have changed since when you played and now, but a part of that change, you were with 13 years as an NBA official. Haywood Workman is in studio with us. I want to get to what you're doing around here as well in a second. How would you whistle this series if you had a whistle and you were a part of it?
I think the whistles are good.
I thought last night was as good as you could ask for.
All you do, or I say you ask the referee, is to keep it fair. Just keep it fair, keep it even. And same calls you make on one end, they make on the other end. Now, it's going to look ugly. And at times that, you know, the fan base is going to expect a call because they're the home team.
Yeah.
They want every call, but it just doesn't work that way. And the game's balanced. You look at it when the game's over, you look at the stats, you see the fouls are about the same, maybe off here one or two, but guys still got to make shots.
Did you get a different level of dialogue from players because you were a former player as an official?
Oh, for sure.
Like what was that like compared to, let's say, for example, you didn't play?
Just because you played, that wasn't a foul,
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that. Just come on, Haywood, you know, those type of, you saw that, come on, you know, and they want me to give in to what they're wanting as opposed to what I'm supposed to be doing.
So who'd you tee up the most?
I rarely teed up guys. I would just give back a little smart remark as a basketball player.
Give me a great example. You got a smart remark loaded up, ready to go.
There's a saying in basketball that the ball doesn't lie, right? And I say, I know. I saw your last jumper.
So they understand in those moments?
They understand in those moments. So
it.
I'm not giving in to it. There's just a lot of dialogue that's going on out there that I could say as a former player that other referees couldn't.
You like the way that the whistle has evolved over the years from you being a player through your 13 years as an official? Because certainly, as we mentioned, you go back a couple of decades, and it's, in some terms, unrecognizable. Do you like it?
Yeah, I like it. I think the difference is everybody doesn't know that trade. No, they don't understand what the officials what their job is to do. And by keeping the game fair and even, referees in the pro level get paid for making decisions that's gray.
Yeah.
And that gray doesn't look good all the time. It just doesn't.
Do you like the reviews?
Sometimes they're a little harsh.
Yeah.
They're a little harsh because you got 8 different replays, and he had to make a decision right then and there on the spot.
I always think when you were working with replays, when they went to the replay on one of your calls, how often did you think it was going to get overturned? Was it more often than you thought it was going to be upheld, just out of curiosity? Or did you even think that way?
I thought that way that it would be upheld.
Yeah.
It would be upheld because
I've been confident in your call.
Confident in my calls, and now if it got overturned, okay, I'm not taking it personal. Somebody saw something that I didn't see.
I think it would be tough not to take it personal.
You can't. You can't take it personal because, like I said, you got to make a decision on the gray. Regardless if you're right or wrong, you had to make a decision.
Yeah.
And sometimes the decision goes in favor of one team or the other. But at the end of the day, I want the decision to be right on my end as the referee, because there's 3 teams out there on the floor. There are 2 teams that are playing against each other, and then there's my 3. And so we want to be right. And most of the times, 96, 98% of the time, you're right.
Gotcha. Haywood Workman's in studio. I tell you what I want to do here, James. Push Mike back about 15. I'm going to get these guys for 15 more because I want to talk about what you're doing. And I also want to get your impression on this Pacer team.
All right.
And really on both sides, because I think they both represent team basketball more than any 2 teams we have seen this season in the NBA, both in Oklahoma City and the Pacers. Haywood, you cool staying?
Yeah, I'm good.
Hey, Amp's over there.
Amp's doing Amp. Amp's doing Amp.
Multimedia over there. That's what he's doing.
I like that new title,
who are you
JMV.
actually talking to over there?
Actually, I was talking to this hotel and an artist who is boarding a flight tomorrow.
Oh, really?
So for a show that I have this weekend in Chicago.
Can you tell us who it is? Anybody?
The artist?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Indianapolis' own After 7.
There you go.
Babyface's brother.
How come those guys have never been on this show, by the way?
That's easy. We're going to make that happen.
Yeah, I tried so many times. I've tried to get every Edmonds on this show ever.
Really?
Yes, and nobody ever goes,
Say
yeah,
less.
I'm coming on.
It is done.
See?
Say less.
Do it.
It is
I've tried to get Babyface on here.
Say less. It is done. Face don't talk sports
I know.
a lot.
I think the last
Kavan talks a lot of sports.
The last time It's No Crime was like on the charts. That's the last time I tried to get him on the show. I think right there. I go back a lot of years.
That's a crime, Jay.
It is a crime. It is.
That is a crime that has been that long.
Yeah, Kavan can talk sports. I'd love to do that
all day.
So yeah,
consider it done. I'm gonna try to get him next year to do the national anthem.
There you go. All right, Amp, sit tight. Hayward, sit tight. We'll come back with you. Mike Chappell's coming up at about 20 as well. We'll get Hayward's impression on what we have seen so far from the Pacers in this NBA Finals. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
I love JMV. He looks like Rascal Flatts guy.
Got a cool soul patch.
He does, and a buttery smooth voice.
Oh, yeah.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Williams has it, 8 to shoot, drives into the lane, pulls up left of the lane, short jump shot off the rim, rebound snared by Nembhard, and here comes Mathurin. Right edge of the arc, slows and waits, gives it to Halliburton. Halliburton, right edge, he wants 3, and he's got 3.
Holmgren sitting back guarding absolutely no one. And Halliburton has a different type of confidence and aggressiveness here tonight.
That's Mark Boyle and Eddie Gill, Pacers Radio, as heard right here on The Fan last night. Again, coming up tomorrow, I will lead you from 3 until 8 from the Pivot Balcony Bar. Shout out to Ben and the gang down there, along with Michelob Ultra. We'll bring this show to you live with many guests and one hell of a great time coming up tomorrow in front of game number 4. The Pacers up 2-1, best of 7. We're going to be talking about that and more. I mentioned Nam Paris is in studio, former Pacer guard and NBA official for 13 seasons. Haywood Workman is in studio. Haywood, I ask you your impression on this Pacer team because that's exactly what it is. That's how they win with team-oriented basketball. What do you think seeing that product live last night?
It's a well-oiled machine.
It is. That's some team basketball.
Machine. And they play and they keep at it and they keep at it and they keep at it, and it's not just one player. They all do their part. They all contribute, and that's a winning combination right there.
I think it's a great brand of basketball, and really it's not lost because OKC plays a very similar brand too. Now, a lot of depth as well.
Sometimes I don't like it, the way and the style of play now, because it's like everybody's at the playground.
Right.
I got you, Jay. Come on, Amp, let's go. And we all play and at the playground, and somebody's got the ball, and then you pass it to the guy in the corner, he shoots it.
Yeah.
That's playground. But when I played in my era, I was more of a specialist. I was a point guard. Now it's just you got basketball.
You were a distributor too. What was the play call most often called by you on the court?
2 down.
Two down. What did
pass it to Reggie?
2 down.
Dale Davis and Antonio screen for Reggie, and Haywood passed it to the right for Reggie coming off the screen.
Two down, or we had everybody. Everybody had floppy. Everybody had floppy. So, but 2 down was Rick's going to screen for Reggie. Reggie, if you come off, you can shoot. If not, it's going in the post to Rick. That was it. Bread and butter. 2 down. Or we did floppy. Reggie, come off Rick's side. You don't have the shot, goes in the Rick. You come off Dale or Antonio's side, he's looking to come off for a 3 because that's going to be a real good screen.
Yeah.
That's going to be a really good screen.
Be solid.
Solid screen.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
My job was to get the ball to Reggie and find who needed a shot, who hasn't had a shot, and get them the ball and go to the corner.
As a point guard, how enjoyable is it to watch what Tyrese Halliburton does here?
I mean, I like him because he's a distributor, and at the same time, he's looking for a shot. And most of the time, I had to guard that guy and make him take difficult shots. So just to watch him play and knowing that was the guy I had to guard and the way he plays, I like his style.
Because of the way you played, do you really have the admiration for somebody that's an orchestrator and really get everybody else going to find their rhythm first and then get himself going? You like that brand, that style of basketball player?
Yeah, and it shows here because they're in the finals.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and then you have everybody in the outside world. And see, I think that's part of the problem. So many people don't see the Pacers play, don't pay attention until now. You don't understand how they work, and that's how they work. He'll get himself going, but you don't have a bunch of guys that can go out and consistently get their own. He puts them in position so they're comfortably able to go what they can get, and then he deals with himself on an individual basis.
Right, and that's what I mean. This is a great team effort because as he's looking for he's putting other players in a good position to take wide open shots.
You got it.
Or be able to lead them to a basket.
You got it. Did Knicks fans like you as an official, especially after your moments with the Pacers back in the 90s?
Well, I would say I've had a good feel for fans.
Did they research you before you officiated their games?
They like me. But the Knicks fans, one of the stories about the Knicks fans, well, my second marriage, I married a girl from New York. So I was always in New York. So they all thought I was from New York.
Okay.
So I didn't really
that kind of made you,
made me like a New Yorker.
Right.
Or they thought I was in New York. So I use that to my
They
advantage.
didn't
But
really get
as
it.
a ref, no one liked me as a ref.
Nobody.
Story, one ref in Charlotte, and then this guy's wearing me out. He's just telling me how bad I am. But, as you run up and down the court, you're looking for the guy who's saying that. And, my back's turned. I can't turn my back and look and watch the game and do all that. So I finally make eye contact and I get him. And so there's a timeout. And I go, am I that bad? And he's just like, you just need to put your whistle up and just tell me how bad I am. And then right before the horn goes off, I go, that's right. Teach your son how to be a complainer. And then no more from him.
That's that.
That's that.
That is all it.
So, but, that stuff like that, that kind of helps me. And I feel like those times when people are on me so bad,
yeah,
I'm doing my job.
You seem like, to me, Haywood, you had the great temperament to be able to handle all that, too. I mean, all that that's coming at you, you can kind of compartmentalize that and not take it so seriously, still be able to do your job at the highest level without that distraction.
That's a part of the job with
Yeah.
most of the referees. You got to have that temperament. And I would like to see more players become referees.
You think there's too much dialogue from them out there going on?
No.
The players? You
No.
don't mind the dialogue at all?
No, not at all.
Because some people complain that it's too much. You don't think it's too much?
Too much complaining, but the
Okay.
dialogue is okay.
What-
Because you have to have dialogue, because some things that you can diffuse, like in situations if the game's getting too rough and I'm on the baseline reffing the game, and I could, during the games, I go, hey, can you hear me? Or hey, when I'm on the baseline, I go, hey, can you hear me? And they go, yeah. So I know they hear me, and I can say, get legal. I'm not coaching them, and I'm not telling them what to do, but I want to make sure that they understand that a foul might come. So I would just say, get legal. And maybe that will help them and prevent them from getting a foul.
Haywood Workman in studio, 13 years as well as an NBA official. Was it easy for you to identify the difference between those that are kind of begging for a foul, trying to create the foul themselves, foul baiters as they're called now, between that and what actually is a foul? Was that easy for you as a former player to see out there, or was it tough year after year because it seems like there's so much head bobbing going on and, contact created and then looking for the whistle? Is it tougher and tougher to find now?
It's tough. It's tough. My training teaches you what you're supposed to be looking for. So I would say to all the fans, watch the defender. Always watch the defender. Because if the defender doesn't do anything legal, then a whistle shouldn't be called on him. Because he didn't do anything illegal. And if the offensive guy created all of that and falls down, hey, this is a pro game.
Legal straight line, hands up. Defensively, and
sometimes, not all the times.
Well, if the offensive player comes into you, you feel secure that whistle's not coming. If that's the way that it goes, legal.
How about this?
Go ahead.
Never and always is going to help you.
Well, I would agree with what you said last night. I thought the officials handled it about as well as you could, and it's weird. I'm naming names here, I guess, but I think it was last night at Tony Brothers game. I think it was,
Tony Brothers,
in the
James
past.
Capers, and Tyler Ford.
Yeah, and in the past, Tony Brothers, people have not been a big fan of his, but I think the last couple around here, I think everybody kind of seems like things were more even, especially with those you have to deal with that are kind of known to go out and initiate the contact and get that whistle.
Well, I would say. Personnel like yourselves, you kind of coach the fans on what they're supposed to look at.
Oh,
really? Yeah. So just think of a commentator.
Coach them up right here.
Think about the commentators. The commentators are telling you what you're watching.
Yeah.
So as a fan, when you, Charles Barkley, anybody that's a part of sports tells you what's going on, you believe it. But nobody asks me anything as a referee out there on the court.
No.
So who's right? It's going to be the person who's telling you. So I tell all the fans, turn the volume down and just watch the game. And now the referee, he will do his demonstration about what happened. They'll show you the replay, and nobody's telling you what you're looking at.
Have you officiated games with all three dudes that did it last night before?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What do you think about them as
Oh, they're great.
Yeah.
They're great. They're great. I mean, it's a trade that I had to learn. These guys had started 10, maybe 15 years before I even got there. and I'm just learning.
I think Tyler's a little bit younger.
Yeah, Tyler's younger, but he started out as a referee.
Sure.
And I was a player, so my vision of the game came from playing, just playing. I've only looked at the game from playing, but when I became a referee, now the game changes because there's different dynamics of the game that a referee has to know, has to understand, and has to go out there and try to make it okay for both teams.
Before I am going to get to this, but I want to ask you, like Andrew Nembhard last night, Williams Garden, Gilgeous Alexander, you saw him try to keep his hands up and try to keep going in his line of defense, meaning, not getting off of that in his own territory. Is that about as good a defense as you can play in those moments? Define a good style of defense that most of the time will not get an easy offensive whistle for a guy like Nembhard, for example, against SGA.
That's play to play. That's hard to say. You can't because
that's
just because your hands are up doesn't mean you're not illegal. Because think of this, guys that fall down. How many basketball players fall down playing basketball? It happens, but something caused the guy to fall. He's just not going to fall down. These guys are like ballerinas.
We could have this debate. I love this right here. See?
But you're just not going to fall down. Just certain things, it's just not going to happen.
I mean,
now,
you're educating the fans out
was
here.
Was the contact marginal or was it illegal? I have to discern that. I have to make a decision on, is it illegal?
I'm glad you brought that up. Can I ask you this? Last night, Aaron Neesmith, they went to the monitor to see if the contact was just a common foul or flagrant. Did you agree with it being just a common foul?
I agree.
Because your former colleague, Steve Javie, said on the broadcast that he felt it was going to be common, but Richard Jefferson and everybody on the broadcast said they thought it was going to be flagrant.
Back to what I said. Commentators are telling you what to look at, and you believe Richard Jefferson because he played the game. You understand? I'm not saying that his opinion isn't right, but Steve Javie, referee, said he thinks it's going to be a common foul. I thought it was going to be a common foul because the force didn't make anything flagrant. He just fouled the guy from behind and grabbed his arm.
Hey,
and he hit the floor hard.
I think we're going to have the official of this show, Haywood Workman. Would you mind? It's like sometimes if I call you and go, okay, what the hell goes on here? Why did this happen?
I think
Would
go
you
to
answer
Steve
the phone?
Javie. I think you go to Steve Javie.
I want to go with you.
I'm a retired guy. I'm trying to promote what I got going on.
We better do that too, by the way. Go ahead and promote what you're doing.
It's the HBCU Hoops Invitational.
Yeah.
So these student athletes at HBCUs, they don't have the necessary resources. They're overlooked. They're underfunded. And I started at an HBCU. And so this was my way to give back to where I started, but also give back to basketball because they're up and coming. So these students need a good path that nurtures academic excellence, student success, to where, you can empower both of them on and off the court, but to make them successful and give them a platform where they can get their exposure because, who was it? Lindsey Hunter, Flip Murray.
Sure.
There's a Kyle O'Quinn. There's a Robert Covington. There's a Charles Oakley. There's a Rick Mahorn. There's a Haywood Workman. So that they can get to the next level, but they need exposure. They need these resources to help them. So this December 4th through the 7th at ESPN's Wide World of Sports in Orlando, this tournament is going to be held for women and men basketball.
That is absolutely great.
And so I need help with some donations. You can go to our Facebook, Instagram, HBCU Hoops Invitational. Go to our donor.hbcu.org. You can go to the sponsors.hbcu.org and help us out. These one-time donation or a reoccurring donation will help us out a lot, but your support is needed. These kids, or I won't say kids, these young men and women need your support.
I love the pride that you show in that too. Man,
I'm
you're
saying I came from HBCU as a all-state quarterback.
Yeah.
That was a starting point guard that transferred and went to another school because
Yeah.
My vision of what I wanted out of basketball, out of college basketball, got me to go to Oral Roberts. I left and transferred, but I know that there's a lot of talent at HBCUs, and these kids, these athletes, student athletes, need our help.
Is it? I don't want to say easier, but I guess I will. Is it easier to find now than it was back in your day, in your era? Like, I guess what I should say, a lot of guys that were colleagues, contemporaries, just like you, maybe could have played but were never discovered. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say.
Yeah.
And you have to be very, very special.
Yeah.
To get to the league from that perspective, from that platform. And so the more exposure they get, I think it helps them out a lot better. And you see there's WNBA women they're playing that came from HBCUs. Like I said, there are guys that played at HBCUs that have gotten to the league, but it should be more. There's more talent. And that's why my slogan is see what we see, because we want you to see this talent. And some of these kids that play basketball, they're going to end up being a commentator, but they'll be a doctor, be a lawyer, and they need help.
One more time. Give everybody the info.
HBCUhoops.org, HBCU Hoops Invitational on Facebook and Instagram. See what we see.
Man, it's great to have you in studio.
Hey, thank you
Haywood
for having
Workman
me.
right here. Absolutely. Hey, I'm at the Pivot Balcony Bar if you guys would like to stop by tomorrow between 3 and 8 o'clock. So right across the street. Amp knows where it is right there. I know it's all new to you because back, I don't know what that thing was. What the hell was that spot back then when you played here, Haywood?
The Mirage. It was the Mirage. I called him the other day. I said, hey, man, we're right across the street. Wasn't the Mirage right here? We were in the club. We were in this club my first year here, my birthday. So we're the same
I bet
month.
you were.
We're in the same month of birthdays. And we're in this club, and the club's about to end. And Malik Sealy goes and gets on the mic. It's about 500 people in this club. He goes, hey, the party's at Wood's house after this. I'm like, what the hell? Like, dude, like, what the hell? And I get to my house, and there's like 60 cars. And like, how do these people know where I live? Like, what the hell? Like, but I had fun. This city was great. I love this city. It's like my second home.
Oh, man.
And I saw Herb last night, and I told him, I appreciate you signing me as the 15th player on this team. And,
well, we loved having you, man.
Yeah, man.
And
It was
we
great.
love you
It was
saying
great
that.
times.
A lot of people are very prideful in you being here and still remaining a part of the fabric, man. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Haywood Workman is in studio. Amp!
What it be like?
Get the
Jay?
Edmonds family on this show.
Consider it done.
Come on,
That's
man.
what I do.
And bring Haywood and everybody down tomorrow too.
I think you got a new friend. You got somebody you want.
Well, I'm gonna call him if I need officiating help.
It'll be off the record. It'll be off the record. And you won't say, well,
see,
one of my referees.
I think I made Tyler mad one time too, because I think Tyler listens. I think I made Tyler mad.
They
I
all
felt bad
listen.
about
Well,
that.
Eric Lewis got in trouble.
Yeah, I know.
They all. I mean, you don't take it personal on the court, and like what I'm saying, your call gets overturned, but the fans being on you, and then you get on radio and you hear all these comments. It's like, yeah, some of this stuff is a little.
I'm not above jackassery right here, Haywood. Let me tell you that. Not above it. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Haywood Workman in the studio, and we appreciate that more than you. Okay, we're going to break. Come back with Mike on the other side here. Let's break. I'm going to walk these guys out into the hallway. That was awesome right there with Haywood Workman in studio with us. Game 4, more conversation. Mike Chappell also coming up. Don't go anywhere. It's 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Plane and land it.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
44-42, halfway through the second quarter. Kenrich Williams catches. He's going to launch a three and miss it long. And the rebound, Halliburton at the Oklahoma City free throw line. To a cutting top and down the lane to Mathurin, who lays it in and draws the foul.
Chris Denary had the second quarter on Pacers Radio, which was awesome last night. Shout out to Mark Boyle and Chris Denary and Eddie Gill and Pat Boylan, as usual. Awesome broadcast. But that was Mark's idea, and it sounded absolutely spectacular last night. That is the type of radio content that is desired right there. Man, in a world where everybody wants everything as quickly as possible and everybody thinks radio is this has-been, that was great. So to all involved, well done. And the brainchild of Mark Boyle was, I thought, fantastic last night. Really was. Shout out to Haywood Workman in studio along with Amp Harris. James says listening to Haywood Workman on the radio was a treat. Thank you. It was a treat. And also, if Amp's going to get me a Kevon Edmonds, which I've been trying to get after 7 on this show for not as long as trying to get his brother on here, Kenneth. Come on, Babyface. I think Babyface is at the State Fair this year. What the hell? The Amp, wherever you are right now, Babyface is at the State Fair. That's me and the Face. Yeah, awesome to have Haywood in studio and Amp. Hopefully they come down and join me at the Pivot Balcony Bar coming up tomorrow inside the Hyatt House. Beginning at 3, I'll look for all of you there. Meantime, Andy Moore, Automotive Group Hotline from CBS 4 and Fox 59. Mike Chappell joins us. So you've been around here as long as anybody. Where does this Pacer playoff finals run rank in terms of the great moments, the great teams, everything that you've covered in the past year?
Well, obviously, go back to 2000 when they played the Lakers in the finals, and I was fortunate enough to be on the Stars coverage team, so we were there for a lot of that. But again, having been here so long, it takes me back to Slick and Neto and Mel and Roger and Freddie and the ABA championships, because people tend to look at the ABA as, it was sort of basketball. No, that was great stuff. Those were great teams, and I just remember the euphoria that everybody had when the Pacers were the champions, and then the NBA almost made it impossible for them to go into the NBA or to the new league from the ABA with all the restrictions they put on them. But there's just nothing better than going for the championship and getting it. We saw that with the Colts in 06 into the 07 January, February. So it's just cool, and I hope they finish it. I just do. And this is it's funny, and I watch Twitter and I follow it, and I hate to be part of that noise, but to see these guys be able to finish this and just shut the national narrative up about these guys. Well, somebody said, well, this might be the worst. They're the worst team to reach the finals in wherever. I'm thinking, are you crazy? Why would you go there? And so this is the people that will be ready to say, well, this is the worst team to win the final, to win the championship since whenever. That's what's bad about the media we're at now, is you got to talk down Oklahoma City for getting beat by these lowly Pacers. Doggone it, just give them their props. They're playing really, really good, basketball. And they've not played even remotely their best in the finals. Now I realize OKC's got a lot to do with that, but does anyone really think the Pacers are still going to shoot 30% on threes next game? If they come out and shoot 40-45%, they're going to be hard to beat. So I've enjoyed it. It does flash me back to Leonard and all those guys and how they were always going against Artis Gilmore and the Kentucky Colonels and those guys. But this is good. Enjoy it. And whenever I hear, well, you're playing with house money, just it's good that you got there. No, it's not. No. I'm old enough to remember Dan Marino made one Super Bowl. So when you get there, doggone it, seize the moment. And I think they've got that mindset. It's really been great to listen to Rick Carlisle. Would have been after the division, where he said, "Hey, eight more wins." That's sort of how he's got on the board. 8 more wins. And then 4 more wins, and now 2 more wins is all it's going to take.
It's interesting because so many have made fun of this series, and in particular nationally, the Pacers, which ESPN does such a great job of depancing its partner, the NBA, in persuading people not to watch with what they say and that level of jackassery. But when you look at the toughest playoff paths, the Pacers are at the top of the list.
Sure.
I think the winning percentage of their opponents, being OKC, the Knicks, the Cavs, and the Bucks, is a little over 700. And I think the highest, as I'm looking at it right here, was 94-95 Rockets, who had the Jazz, the Suns, the Spurs, and the Magic before ended up winning it all right there too. So yeah, 726 was the Rockets in the mid-90s, and the Pacers right next to them at just a little bit over 700. So, a lot can be made about the whole small market stuff, but that's for the small-minded. If you love basketball, this brand of basketball, there has been nothing better on both ends with both teams.
On both ends, no question. Sometimes I think OKC's got like 7 guys on the floor, the way they play defense. But it's fun to watch, and again, this will be a low-rated finals. Well, that's too bad for the rest of the country, because this is pretty good stuff. And I'm really curious how they come out Friday. I really am. When you're thinking, and there's only so much I think that Carlisle can do at this time. You can't rely on, Newt Rockne speeches. You've got, 2 more wins, and you've got it. And I realize OKC's going to offer strong resistance, because that's a great team. But the motivation is 2 more wins, and you've done what nobody expected you to do. So that's what's really cool. And like I say, they didn't get a lot out of Miles Turner defensively, yes. But now that I heard that he was under the weather, I kept wondering why his shots kept coming up short yesterday. Now I think I know. But Neesmith really hasn't gone off yet. And Nembhard's just working his ass off on defense. So, and you play a lot of pickup ball, whether it's at Southport or Hinker or whatever. Isn't T.J. McConnell the guy you just want to punch in the face?
Yeah.
When you're playing pickup. So the fact that he's doing what he's doing is we've seen it from, so many times. But in Matherin, holy smokes.
Guy stole 3 inbounds passes last night. That's insane.
He stole 6 points.
Yeah, insane.
So, and again, he's a guy that he's just a freaking pest, which is a good thing. He's the guy that you don't like until he's on your team, and you think, this guy's pretty good. So I just like the way that it's somebody different. And anyone who had the prop bet that Matherin would outscore SGA, kudos to you, because no one really expected that. So I like where they are, certainly, and the fact that we're waiting for their best game, or we're waiting for Turner to go off, we're waiting for Naismith to go off. But it's fun to watch. I hope they come out Friday and just ride the wave. And then can OKC beat him 3 straight? I doubt it.
You know what Friday is? You know what tomorrow is for the Pacers, don't you, Mike?
Is it must win?
It is indeed must win.
If you use that too much, it does tend to lose its urgency. But,
I think we understand. It's just different situations and different scenarios, and I think it would hold true right here.
If you lose, it's best of 3, and OKC's got the advantage, and then yes, so I understand that. This isn't where I would have confidence in the Pacers going back to Madison Square Garden and whipping the Knicks in Game 7, which I thought could happen easily. This is different. This is your time. And boy, you gotta expect to get the absolute best. SGA he's gonna go for that 40 because he's that good. I can't remember a player, and I'm sure there have been, that can get whatever he wants whenever he wants. Maybe Durant, but they're different. They're just different players. But boy, he's hard to stop. But if you keep the other guys from going crazy like they did in what was it, game 3, whatever it was, you got a pretty good chance. Or game 2. So I like the group. They're fun to watch. And get Halliburton is 20-10, and they're unbeatable.
So Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Mike, the Colts wrapped up the 3-day mandatory minicamp. What stood out to you? And I'm assuming you want to start with Daniel Jones in this?
Well, you start with Daniel Jones because you can't start with Anthony Richardson.
Yeah. I guess we should maybe start with exactly what that whole second opinion and the information he got from his AC joint surgeon when he went out to L.A. Do we know what he heard?
Apparently the same thing, which, players need to get second opinions, and that's not because you don't trust the team, but it's, you just need to get your second opinion, and he got it from the guy that did the initial surgery. At least they didn't come back and say, yeah, we need to get in there, and the old cleanup procedure. Anytime you're dealing with your quarterback or your starting pitcher, and it's his business arm, there's concern. There just is. There's absolutely no possible positive spin you can put on this. Well, we're going to arrest him going into training. No, that's not a good thing. So we'll see. It makes you wonder how far ahead Jones might be once Richardson's back re-engaged, because he's not supposed to throw until he's cleared, and then they're going to ease him in to practice. Which, pitch count? Does he throw hard on a Monday and then not on Tuesday? And that's not ideal, remotely ideal, when you're trying to win a starting job. So in my mind right now, I am preparing myself for Daniel Jones to start against Miami in the opener, and then we'll see. So this was. We always knew we were going to be talking about the quarterbacks all season. It was inevitable just because of everything. And now it's even more so when one of the guys can't throw, isn't allowed to throw yet. So fortunately, I think Jones has shown that when he's got a good team around him, the Giants went, 9-7-1 and made the playoffs in 2022 when he had, a good defense, and Saquon Barkley ran for 1,300 yards. This is the best supporting cast he's had. He was like third or fourth most sacked quarterback in the league with the Giants. So this is a good situation for him. Now for Richardson, not so much. So it's like I said, we knew we were going to be talking quarterbacks all season, but I don't know that we were talking about injuries in minicamp or OTAs, which it's never a good thing. And for Richardson, who has an injury history, it's not a good thing by any stretch.
It's Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Mike, thanks for pushing that back a little bit with the conversation we had with Haywood Workman. And again, must win it tomorrow night and give yourself the best opportunity possible.
You think they come through it? You think? What do you think?
This is my favorite team around here of all time, and that's a mouthful, honestly, especially with the Colts Manning-led teams in the past. This is my favorite team ever.
Well, but again, no one expects. OKC is like a 5 or 6 point favorite.
Yeah,
and they're still the betting favorite to win the series and the championship. So you just keep doing it, and then when you win 2 more games, you say, "See, I think that's all we have to win." So fun to watch.
All right, enjoy, Mike. I appreciate it. We'll do it next week.
Talk to you later. Bye.
So Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59 on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. The Pivot Balcony Bar tomorrow inside the Hyatt House. We're going to be with Michelob Ultra beginning at 3. We'd love to see you there. I'll explain, get to more of your calls to close out, but the Harrah's Hoosier Park Race of the Day, 50-50 betting and dining from Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson, with standardbred horse racing going on now through November. Our good friend Tony Renz, as always, helps us present to you on this Thursday your Harrah's Hoosier Park Race of the Day.
On your head. Just drive fast, okay?
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Harris Teeter Park race of the day, 50-50. Betting and dining to Mike O'Brien. Pacific Pearl paid a robust 40-40 on a $2 bet. The exact payout was 347.40. And the 50-cent trifecta, $491.70, 50-50 betting and dining to Mike O'Brien. That's courtesy of Harris Hoosier Park Racing and Casino at Anderson, the Harris Hoosier Park Race of the Day. Standardbred horse racing going on now through November. At Harris Hoosier Park Racing and Casino, you got it right, at Anderson. We'll do it for a final time tomorrow. James is not going to be here tomorrow. You got vacation days tomorrow, do you?
I'm actually going to my sister's wedding.
You told me that. I forgot, yeah. Nicely scheduled wedding right there on Game 4.
Well, there was that, and then my brother got married on Carb Day
Jesus.
a couple of weeks ago.
What's happening around there?
Yeah.
Adam's family need a little bit more local sports awareness than that, I think, don't they? A little bit, maybe. Haywood Workman was awesome in studio a little bit earlier. The former Pacer point guard and 13-year NBA official in studio was great. Podcast at 1075thefan.com. Mike Chappell was just with us, too. Jeremy Schaap of ESPN. Remember the E60 report on friend of the show, Scott Pollard, comes to you on Father's Day at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. You'll want to be sure to check that out again on ESPN, 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. And Dustin DePurak of the Star started things off back in the 3 o'clock hour. The Pivot Balcony Bar, Hyatt House tomorrow, beginning at 3 o'clock. We will look for you there. Michelob Ultra will bring us to you. I will have another list of incredible guests for you tomorrow. Hopefully many of those slide by. I've been trying. I have not heard back yet. The quote was, well, let me check the schedule first. I'm trying to get Chad Buchanan to come by and hang out for a little bit. So we're hoping for that. But some former Pacer players, those that cover the team, all coming up tomorrow with you. And listen, Mother Nature, don't jack around with me as far as the wetness and the rain, because we're going to be on the back. It is a great spot. Don't jack with me. Because if there's anything that's going to make me unhappy, it would be that. We've got to have a great day. 3 o'clock tomorrow. We're going to be downtown inside the Hyatt House. And again, a shout out to Ben and the gang down there who are absolutely spectacular. Our friends at Zinc with Michelob Ultra. Awesome per usual. Just great people. Me go to Bill at 239-1070 because I know Bill is going to be locked and loaded with us coming up tomorrow at Pivot, the Balcony Bar at Hyatt House. Ready to go, loaded with Pacer conversation, Billy.
Oh, you betcha. And anybody that enjoys engaging in people watching.
Yes.
If you're on that balcony and you're looking below on Pennsylvania Avenue right in front of Cambridge, you're going to get a really, really good view of the quote-unquote electricity and everything that surrounds this event. So it's going to be really great. Looking forward to it. The one statistic that sticks with me about last night's game is the fact that 22 years old, Benedict Mathurin is one of only 4 other players to score over 25 points in the NBA Finals. And that list is LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Tony Parker, and names like that. So what he accomplished yesterday and everything was definitely historic, and I think the rest of the finals needs to complete his coming out party, and I'm definitely looking forward to that.
No, last night was great. Really was. Game 3. They got to follow it up in Game 4 tomorrow night, Billy, with another fantastic performance. So
I can't wait for Caruso to try to throw the ball in against T.J. McConnell and T.J. McConnell steal it from him when he's standing right in front of him.
Right in front of him. Just stuck his arms up. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just amazing that he pulls this kind of stuff off. So, so many players on the Pacers that we need to keep long term and everything. And of course, he and Mathurin are 2 of them.
Got that right, Billy. We'll see you tomorrow, beginning at 3. Okay, buddy?
I'll be there.
You got it. Shout out to Josh Chalfant Yes, sirs, the song, the summer song of 2025 here in Central Indiana. Performed that live at the pub with us yesterday. Again, you can get that on your song or music, in this case, streaming services out there. Yes, sirs, and our friend from Danville, Josh Schaap, who did that live with us yesterday, be live with us tomorrow. We're at Pivot Balcony Bar. And again, Ben and my friends down at Pivot in the Hyatt House, thank you very much for doing what you do. We're there tomorrow beginning at 3 o'clock with Michelob Ultra. Zink's going to be present and accounted for. We will party it up and talk it up before game number 4. That is tomorrow. James, great job out of you. Do not miss a second beginning at 3 tomorrow. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.